let us take a look at our last example for today. The question says we should calculate, or the question says a chemist converts 6.4 grams of SO2, that is sulfur 4 oxide, to SO3. A chemist converts 6.4 grams of sulfur 4 oxide to sulfur 6 oxide, SO3. Now we are told to write a balanced equation for the reaction and find the mass of SO3 formed. That is simple. So let us proceed. To do that, we have to write a balanced equation first. Now, the question is, how can we convert SO2 to SO3? How is it possible? SO2 to SO3. How is that possible? Converting SO2 to SO3 is possible if SO2 reacts with oxygen. So that is what happens. So a chemist converted SO2 to SO3 by reacting SO2 with oxygen. So now the thing is, let us pen down the equation for the reaction. And we are told to balance the equation. So we have it as SO2 plus O2 to give us SO3. Now, is the equation balanced? No, it is not balanced. So we have to balance it. At the left-hand side, let us see. Sulfur is 1. Oxygen is 4. At the right-hand side, we have only one species. Sulfur is 1. Oxygen is 3. So how do we balance that? To balance it, since sulfur is 1 at the left, 1 at the right, sulfur seems to be balanced, but oxygen is not balanced. Now, in trying to balance oxygen, sulfur may become altered. So if sulfur is altered, it means we'll have to take steps to balance sulfur again. So trying to balance oxygen now, let us see how to balance oxygen. Through trial and error method, like I have taught you, using your pencil, through trial and error method, if we choose to put 2 in front of SO3, it makes sulfur to become 2, but it has affected oxygen. Oxygen is now going to be 6. That is 2 times 3. That is 6. So, automatically, since oxygen is now 6 at the right-hand side, what happens at the left-hand side? And sulfur is 2. So, that makes us to place 2 in front of sulfur. So, sulfur is now going to be 2 at the left, 2 at the right. What about oxygen? Oxygen is 6 at the left. That is 2 times 3. 6 at the right. Oxygen is now 6 at the right. How many oxygens do we have at the left? At the left, we have 2 times 2, which is 4. And then we have another 2 here. That is 6. So, it is now balanced. So, the chemist converted SO2 to SO3 by reacting SO2 with oxygen. And now we have balanced the equation. So, the balanced equation is 2 moles of SO2 plus O2 to give us 2 moles of SO3. That is the balanced equation. So, we have done the first part of the question, which is, the question says, balance the equation. Write a balanced equation of the reaction. So, having balanced it, the next question is, we are told that 6.4 grams of SO2 was provided and then converted to SO3. So, we are now told to find the mass of SO3. So, that's the next thing we are going to do. Find the mass of SO3. And to recall, let's put it aside, 6.4 grams of this compound was brought and converted to SO3. So we are asked to find the mass of SO3. So to find the mass of SO3, it is simply to say let us calculate the molar masses of the species we are interested in. So we are interested in SO2 and SO3. Oxygen is less important at this case. So let us look at how to solve the molar masses. So for SO2, 2 into sulfur is 32. We are going to know, I know some students will be asking me, how do we know the relative atomic masses of all the elements? Not to worry. In any given question whatsoever, you will always be provided with relative atomic masses, especially relative atomic masses of elements that are not too familiar. So whenever you're given any question, you're going to be provided with their relative atomic masses. If you're not provided with it, an alternative will be given to you. So let's take a look at sulfur is 32 plus oxygen is 16, but there are 2 atoms of oxygen there, so that's going to be 16 times 2. On the right hand side, we have 2 moles of SO3. Sulfur is 32 plus oxygen is 16, so we are going to have 16 times 3. So in this case, we have 2 into 32 plus 32. And here we have 2 into 32 plus 48. So the next is 2 into 32 plus 32 is 64. And against 2 into 32 plus 48 is 80. So 2 times 64, it means we have 128 grams of SO2. 2 times 64 is 128. Against 2 times 80 is 160 grams. So what it simply implies is, from the equation, 128 grams of SO2 produces 160 grams of SO3. So if that is the case, we simply say if 128 grams of SO2 produces 160 grams of SO3, then 6.4 grams of SO2 will provide or produce X of SO3. And the next is to cross multiply. So when we cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we're gonna have it as 160 times 6.4, either way is still okay, is equals to 128 times X. So 160 times 6.4 is 1024, is equal to 128 times S gives us 128X. So to find our X is to divide both sides by 128. So we have 128, 128. So that takes care of themselves. 128 takes care of itself. Therefore, we have X is equals to 1024 over 128. And that gives us 8 grams. So the chemist successfully converted sulfur 4 oxide to sulfur 6 oxide, and the mass of sulfur 6 oxide that he got is 8 grams as we have calculated. So we have 8 grams of sulfur 6 oxide, SO3. So dear students, this is how to calculate questions. So from all the questions we have seen so far, I want to believe that you are now very equipped to solving any question under stoichiometry. And I will now have to give us a little test on how to solve questions in us to chemistry. So this is your STS students to solve. The question says, using 12 grams of copper, what mass of copper 2-trioxynitrate 5 will be formed in the reaction below? So take a look at that reaction. You have to ask yourself first if it is balanced. If it is not balanced, you have to balance it. But if it is balanced, then you proceed. So you're provided with 12 grams of copper, and the question says what mass of copper 2 nitrate will be formed from the reaction. So it is left for you to identify which of the species is copper, which of the species is copper 2 nitrate, and of course, you have to also comprehend, decipher which of the species you are most interested in, and then you proceed. That is your STS.